more dangerous than enemies because they live freely amongst us, while the enemy is outside at the gate. One of my first experiences with betrayal was the story of these two good friends that came from Africa and sought asylum in Germany. Now, one of them was rejected and sent back to his home country. What he did was to write a letter to the authorities, explaining to them that his friend also was not eligible to be granted asylum because they had the same story and the same path. His aim was to have his friend sent back, since if he could not stay in Europe, there was no reason why his friend should stay there. We really live with a lot of traitors in our midst, yet we complain so much about racism. Now, if racism is the enemy, where does the enemy get the weapon to attack us, if not from us? So in this video, I'm going to explain a lot of different ways where this betrayal takes place and where these traitors are active. This betrayal amongst us starts even from the asylum homes. You'll see two people having a quarrel over something very minor, maybe like who messed up the room or whose turn it is to clean the toilet or the bathroom. Before you know it, they'll start fighting. Police will come, and it wouldn't end there. The fight will go on, and before long, one of these people is running to all the authorities to spill everything out. Who came from where, who lied about what, who is the father, who is not. I think if you are an African listening to this video, you relate to exactly what I'm saying here. And then the authorities are now using all this information, not just against the person you betrayed, but also against you. So, if you are in an asylum home, be very careful the way you associate with people. Even those people you call your friends, they are even your biggest enemies if they want to be, because they have all the information about you. And believe me, a lot of people are going to the authorities and giving detailed information. And then you wonder why you get rejected or why you get kicked out of an asylum home to another place that is not convenient. We have traitors amongst us, and we all have to be wise. It goes on to the working place. Now, when you get to a working place, there are some working places where you really see a lot of Africans, like maybe in hotels or by the butchers or so. A lot of betrayal going on there. And there are some countries that are really more prone to this than others. I have to say this, I've watched Ghanaians working together and they seem to be very united and close on it. But there are certain countries, when you get there, you will see people betraying each other, even going as far as saying who holds what in the hand. Why? Why must you take because of a little quarrel or because you think this person is getting a preferential treatment in work to betray people that have made this journey to Europe? Even sometimes I've seen cases where somebody is traveling on holiday and calls a friend and say, okay, can you stand in and do this job for me till I come back in a month? What would this person do? You know you are just there to do this work till your friend comes back. You go and start doing the job extraordinarily well, talking to all the people there. By the time the owner of the job comes back, the person can't even get their job again. You've taken that job away from your fellow African. And a lot of betrayal, so often you will see in the workplace, Africans going to report fellow Africans, trying to get away the preferred job from there. It's a lot of betrayal. Even cases of people doing their private hustle. Someone may just be plaiting hair at home to just earn a little money. A slight quarrel, enmity, you run off to the authorities to report that this person is making money illegally. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Or you open an African shop. The next thing you want to do, all those other women that have been slowly doing their little business at home, you go reporting them up and down. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Even in this society that we live in, are there not hairdressers making hair at home and getting money? Are there not people doing some small side hustle on the side and getting a little money to survive? Why do you begrudge that woman sitting at home with her little children? She doesn't have the opportunity to work. Maybe she doesn't understand the language. Why do you begrudge her that little money she can just earn making hair? You feel the need to go and report, not knowing that all these things you are reporting are also being used against you. Some of us were employed in certain kinds of jobs with the government. Like you see cases, people are employed to translate for asylum seekers, or the police employs you to translate telephone conversations or certain things. You leave your job of translating and start giving the police information which is not in your job description. Who asked you to identify where that person came from, or what you think, or whether you believe the person is lying or not? Why don't you stick to the job you are being paid for? That's a betrayal. And I tell you, nobody that knows his job or what he's supposed to do will leave his job and go and start playing detective or spy on his own people. We see a lot of that too. Or people being asked to do some kind of social work with their fellow Africans or so. You go and exaggerate a problem just to make money out of it. We have a lot of traitors amongst us, and it's time we start identifying where they are and where the loopholes are. Sometimes we even have traitors in our relationship. I know of a couple of Africans married to European ladies. When they travel back home, you will see a friend going to this woman to expose everything about this African brother, with the sole purpose of taking that woman away from him, so that by the time the man comes back, this woman is now with his friend. Why do we do this to each other? Or you are working with somebody, an African in a shop, who owns a shop, or you are in an African organization. When the thing goes sour, what do? You run to report to the authorities just to betray that person. Or is it even the case of our African marriages here? You get divorced. In fighting your personal battle, all you are doing is busy running to the police and to the authorities, the job centers. This man has traveled for 4 months. This man is doing a private business on the side. What does that have to do with your divorce? If the man comes into problem, how does it help your children? If the man goes into jail or is deported, how does it help your children? Even in the kindergarten, sometimes what these kindergarten people do is they try to get information from one African parent about another African parent. Then you see African parents exposing everything about the home of that parent in the kindergarten. They are very fond of this. Once, I went to pick my son in the kindergarten. So this kindergarten teacher, she approached me and she said, you know that lady, we asked her to bake something for her son's birthday. She said she can't bake and she doesn't normally give her son things along to eat that are appropriate. And she went on and on trying to get information out of me. And I told her, I said, do you realize that in Africa, in my time, most homes didn't have an oven? Because this baking cake or so is really not part of our tradition or our cultural food. It's something that came with time. So maybe this woman does not know how to bake cake, but she can make a lot of other things that are even better than cake. So instead of telling her to bake a cake, why didn't you ask her what she could bring from her own country? Now, if I was a kind of traitor or malicious person, I could have started opening, oh yeah, I know her, even at home they do this, they do that. And then the child starts having problem in school. So a lot of betrayal going on amongst us. And this is the information being given to the enemy. These are the tools the enemy is using against us. So if we keep coming out shouting, racism, 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 but we should also address how these people are able to penetrate us and know so much about us. How do they have so much information, if not the information we give them? So please, if you haven't subscribed, please do press the notification button, like my video or dislike it, and please share this video while I go on with the concluding part. It's a big struggle coming from our homeland into a foreign country. Some of us take a lot of risk, put our life at risk. We're even traumatized when we come here. We go through a lot. So when you get here, if you realize the struggle you had, or maybe you were even lucky you didn't have so much struggle, why do you want to spoil another person's own struggle? As my people say, put sand in their garri. Why? What do you benefit because you have a quarrel or an issue? You want to ruin somebody's life, not just their life. You don't even know what those people, their family back home, is depending on them. You don't know that some lives back home may be dependent on this life. You don't know the sacrifices their family made for them to come here. Then you have a small quarrel about cleaning or who didn't clean, who used the toilet, who didn't. You just want to destroy a whole life. Sometimes out of jealousy or maliciousness. Do you think that the way up the ladder is to push another person down the ladder? Never. And my advice to everybody, be very cautious about the friends you keep. I learned the hard way to be cautious about the information you share with people. Be cautious about where you take your friends to, how you tell your friends what you are doing, about your job, taking them to your workplace. Be careful. I'm not saying don't help people, but be careful. Because sometimes it's that person you take to the work that will even destroy you or push you out of that job. And also when dealing with fellow people, remember that a lot of people are traumatized. A lot of people you see here, through their trauma, they're having mental issues. So try not to escalate problems. If you see that something is going wrong, even if you know that you are not to blame, for the sake of peace, it's better you just clean that toilet and have your peace than taking this thing far, police coming here, driving here, this person going to give information there. Before you know it, so much damage is done. Rather than that, learn to de-escalate issues so we stay in peace. So please, let's remember, treachery, betrayal is one of the biggest stumbling blocks can be the biggest enemy. We all know the story about Judas Iscariot. And many of us have heard about Cassius and Brutus. How Brutus stabbed Julius Caesar on the Ides of March. Caesar turned to Brutus because Brutus was actually the son of his mistress. Not his son, but the son of his mistress. And while they were attacking him, Caesar turned to Brutus, and Brutus stabbed him. Now, if you read Julius Caesar, you will see that they wrote a to Brutus. But in the history books, what Caesar said was, "And you, my child," because he had taken Brutus as his child. Brutus had gone against him once previously, but he still forgave him, took him back. And at that last hour, Brutus betrayed him. Yes, even our very own children that get influenced by this society, when they feel they want more freedom, they don't want to stay at home again, they go out there to the authorities and they spill a lot of beans. I've seen many cases where children are being taken away from parents, or parents going into trouble because the children go there and say a lot of things. Now, please don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that if a child is abused, that child should not report to the authorities. But there are cases where these children actually tell things that are quite unnecessary and even untrue. So please, let me end it here. Remember that betrayal is real. There are traitors amongst us. Mind how you relate with people. Mind how you live your life. Mind how you step on people's toes. Learn to de-escalate issues. Learn to keep your privacy. Learn to make secrets to remain secrets, so that we can live here in peace, so that nobody will be carrying your name somewhere your name is not meant to be. So let me leave it at that. Please, if you have made your own experiences or heard of such stories, please leave it in the comment section so that other people can read and learn from it.